Hello everyone, and welcome to The Scoop. I am here with Keith Thundurus. Please, say hello to the audience.
Goodbye, audience.
Okay. And this time, we're trying to keep it into a reasonably shaped amount of time. So, for our first match of the game, it is LS's match against Camo Dude, who has recently made transactions. Those of you who remember, I forget if it was last week or the week before, but I think it was last week. Camo had the Frost Breath and Primeape for the Rage Fist and Anger Point, and the cat is meowing because it's mad. Sorry, it's not my cat.
Usually I'm the one that's being distracted by cats, so this is
Oh, it's no, it's.
This is.
I can see that it's showing up on the
breaking
recording.
fresh ground. Yeah, it is. This is breaking fresh
dude.
ground for us.
I think this is maybe the second or third time I've recorded a video where the cat has just been absolutely popping off. But yes, my apologies for it.
It's exciting.
Either way, so the other thing was
lines.
that this team also used to have Slazzle and Kingdra, with the idea being that you could Dragon Cheer the Kingdra to get guaranteed critical hits. And the issue that the team was having is that having both of those as a significant portion of points limited its ability to win games, and that Kingdra wasn't very immediately strong. So picked up Vaporeon, which is a water type that has 130 special attack and thus is immediately strong, rather than Kingdra, who, let's face it, is often reliant on support, whether it be from getting that critical hit sniper up or from getting rain up to be able to push forward this type of damage that may be.
Or just clicking Draco Meteor, I guess.
There's also a Leafeon, because I think this team used to have no resist to some types and now it has resist to them.
That's good. That's important.
Yeah, so I think that they were recognizing the problem was they had this really cool combo thing with Frostlass and Primeape, but they didn't have any premium Pokemon that they felt comfortable. They also got Jumpluff, which is really cool. They didn't feel comfortable trying to force damage in sort of immediate ways, so they were incredibly reliant on these combinations, and combos are nothing if not something that your opponent can play around. So that's where we've got this, the context of this matchup changed. So far we haven't made any transactions, so as such LS has not. So we see, if we look at these two teams, we once again see that LS is running into a team that's mostly faster. In this case, they have, 6 Pokemon that are faster, and then 5 Pokemon that are sort of in that area. So that goes back to, is this going to be a Tailwind Decidueye matchup? Is this going to be a Trick Room Reuniclus? Is it going to be like Scarf Electro Web? Or is this just going to be, I have a different Scarfer? Of course, it could also be the Rain Dance with Beartic as well, as we have seen previously. Also Icy Wind from Wartortle, and yes, Trick Room from Grumpig as well. So there's
Icy Wind
variety.
from Grumpig.
What's sorry?
Grumpig also has Icy Wind.
That is true. Though I think
Grumpig
so
is
far
the
it's mostly functioned more as an abuser of speed control rather than the speed control setter, mostly because it's good. That said, in this matchup, yeah, a lot of Pokemon that are just faster and that do exert reasonable damage into a lot of this team. So Camo has to think either how can I prevent them getting speed control, how can I get speed control, or how can I win without them getting speed control. So that actually is very difficult. It means that you're fairly disincentivized to do the Frostlass Primeape strat, as if your plan is to stop them getting speed control, to get speed control yourself, because obviously that's giving your opponent a turn to get speed control. So then they have to have a broader spectrum of plans to be able to fence up to it. I think that Trick Room makes a lot of sense, obviously, on this end. The Reuniclus or Grumpig. That said, with the potential of that Frost Breath Rage Fist, I think you strongly suspect that a Reuniclus would be Sash.
Yeah.
And then you're working off of the base level of the Reuniclus being Sash and figuring out what to go on from there. But the good thing about it being Sash means that it can obviously be double hit, or that you can taunt it pretty reliably, as well as obviously nothing there for facing. So the fact that you have the potential taunt on Frostlass means that a Frostlass Primeape combination, especially if you have Terra Ghost on Primeape, is very difficult to prevent setting Trick Room. It's very difficult to get Trick Room up against, because you can't fake out Frostlass with Wartortle, and then they have to use a Scarf Pokemon to be able to stop it going off first. So if they double target the guy, or just taunt it, it should generally be pretty reliable. And if they find out that it's not Focus Sash, or that Grumpig isn't Focus Sash, then they can do sort of whatever. And in terms of follow-up, like we mentioned, Vaporeon is pretty reasonably tanky into a lot of these guys and is quite offensively threatening. And then everything else that's fast is good. Low Kicks is just good because Low Kicks is good. Warrior is fine because its damage is fine. this team doesn't necessarily...
can be annoying.
Yeah, if this team is behind on the speed control, it gets pressured. And that is the main struggle that it looks into in this matchup. So I think, look at this team. You really think that the sort of the top 6 comes because the Decidueye strategy does not seem as consistent. And then...
I could see...
You could maybe see Rotom coming. You could maybe see Grumpig coming.
Yeah.
But like the Decidueye one doesn't come. So then you're just like, okay, well, what's the core thing that you expect to come? Well, I think you basically always expect there's 6. When you look at this team, obviously you don't expect Toxel comes. I feel like you don't actually... you're not that worried about Doug. Doug isn't particularly good offensively into this team. And
in theory,
so much of this team hits it.
I'm just thinking, like, maybe this was actually... Like, I don't know if it came, but this could be like a Growlithe matchup or something as well, to be honest with you. Because just getting the, having the Intimidate, and also just like Will-O-Wisp being the Primeape just might be enough to like...
Sounds like a great way to... So the reason that Intimidate isn't good against Anger Point is one, either they haven't got an Anger Point up yet, and then they're at +6 anyway, even if they were intimidated.
It maximizes. It doesn't gain +6. It gains
+12.
+6. Oh, that's annoying. Okay.
Okay. I explained that last time when we talked about my matchup, but you know that's fine. You were actually also on that video.
I don't remember what happened 2 minutes ago. Where am I?
Wait, actually, you might not have been on that video. That was the Staravia one. You might not have been on it. But yes. So Intimidate, not necessarily the most consistent because even if they do go from +6 to +5, they're still +5.
Yeah. Oh, it's more just for like a bulky Will-O-Wisp thing.
Yeah, and like Wisp is good into Primeape, but the main issue with Primeape is trying to force damage in through it, because the problem is that it can recover a lot with Drain Punch. Even if it's doing 60, 70% or whatever, if it's still recovering back 30% itself on it, and then it's got Eviolite, it's just outpacing you consistently.
Yeah, I think that's the big issue with this matchup. I really think this is a tough one.
Yeah.
Like, I really think this is a really tough one. I think, like, the Anger Point Primeape can just feast on this slow, bulky team, because who cares about how bulky... Like,
the team's not that
like, naturally bulky. What?
The team's not that bulky, yeah.
Well, it's not that... It's got decent bulk to it. Like,
Such
none
as?
of these Pokemon... Like, you wouldn't call these Pokemon necessarily frail.
No, there's some tanky Pokemon.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would call most of these Pokemon frail.
That's just absolutely mowed down.
I would call Reuniclus tanky, Heracross tanky, Rhydon tanky. I'd call Wartortle frail, Mastiff frail, Beartic frail, Base Rotom frail.
I would not call
Grumpig frail.
Wartortle with the
Decidueye. Like, you have to invest so much, and Eviolite, and then it's still, like, we've seen it this season, like, still getting absolutely put on its ass, even when it is Eviolite.
I also wouldn't call Grumpig frail, especially... special defensively. It does have a big Spadef stat.
It's got a reasonable Spadef stat, but it's not something that's going to let it take hits from Frostlass, even though Frostlass doesn't have good special attack. It's not something that's going to let it take hits from Grumpig, from Vaporeon, which does have good special attack. Or even like Ampharos. What's right?
I think it'd take hits, okay. Like, it'd definitely be like
if you're talking about something that's bulky, like, it's not going to be able to, like, certainly it's not going to be able to 1v1, right? The issue is, like, we're talking about this in comparison... You're talking about this in comparison to other Pokemon that cost, like, 4, but I'm talking about this in comparison to the other Pokemon in the matchup, right?
Yes.
Like, you're comparing it to other Pokemon at its price cost, or I don't know what you're comparing it to. But, like, the opponent has several Pokemon that have more special defense, and are also stronger.
Well, like, it's a worse Pokemon than Vaporeon, but I don't know if it's necessarily, like,
yeah, but it's not going to take hits as well, special hits as well as Primeape. It's probably going to take them maybe as well as Jumpluff. Like, it's going to take them marginally better than Ampharos. I don't even know if it's going to take them better than Leafeon, right? So I don't know that it's going to take it better than Wordeer. So if we're looking at half of the opponent's team is taking their hits better, are we really saying, like, this isn't a bulky team? Would you call this a bulky team?
Oh, like, I don't know if I'd call it a bulky team, but it's not for us. So, like, for example, like, just max HP is, like, 4 KO, like, it's 4 KO, but, like, a sort of schooled from a not that invested Vaporeon, that sort of thing.
Right, but like, you're talking, so now you're talking about tanky if the opponent doesn't run, like, damage.
I mean, if it runs damage with just max HP, it's 3 KO.
Yeah.
Like, again, that's what I would call tanky, I wouldn't necessarily call that frail. Frail is your 2 KOs.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's tanky, not bulky. That's exactly what I said. I mean,
you called it frail.
I'd still probably consider it. But okay, sure, whatever. This isn't a particularly bulky team. This is a team that has tanky Pokemon and some frail Pokemon. The important concern is that this team is not one that is going to reliably work through it. Tanky Pokemon in general don't love stuff like the Frostlass or like the Anger Crit, the Anger Point, whatever it's called, the crit rate, Sniper Kingdra, stuff like that. Like that's the stuff that's designed specifically to check tanky Pokemon by being able to overpower that tank, as well as bulky Pokemon. On top of that, then there is general sluggers on this team, like the Vaporeon, like the Leafeon, like the Low-Kicks, and to some extent like Warrior and Ampharos, who aren't great but are fine, who are pushing their own damage as well.
Yeah.
You said you wanted this to be a quick video, and then you're just like...
It's tough. I gotta fight fake news,
So, on this team, you don't expect Doug to come, you don't expect Toxel to come, you think Low-Kicks is probably coming, you think Warrior might come, depending on how they feel about it. Like, Jumpluff could also come, but then you're like, okay, well, what if you just Sleep Powder? But in general, you don't think that Jumpluff and Dugtrio, both of which are relatively frail, and don't necessarily provide support that this team is looking for, team is looking for in this matchup, may not come, but they could still come, because they do have access to, like, Sleep Powder is fine, and, like, Doug's fine, because these Pokemon are just faster, so even if their utility isn't necessarily premium, it's still fine.
Yeah, they just get hits off first.
Yeah, like, even if you're doing something that isn't amazing, like, if they just bring their 6 Pokemon that are faster than the opponent's entire team, we can't call that bad. But I would expect Vaporeon to come, and I would consider, certainly, Wordier as well, and to some extent Magby.
I think a big issue for
maybe Fabian.
LS is that even if they manage to solve the lead of Frostlass and Primeape...
You've gone very quiet again.
I think it might be... well, even if they manage to solve the lead of Frostlass and Primeape, I think it's going to actually be pretty difficult to win from that position if the right Pokemon are in the back. It's just... I don't know, I think like
they have to remove Primeape, right?
Comps. Yeah.
If they remove Primeape, then they have to push their way through Frost. Like, this team doesn't weather the hits from Pokemon like Reuniclus, Pokemon like Rhydon, or even Pokemon like Beartic particularly well. The problem is, with the exception of Primeape, right? The Primeape is consistently taking hits. Vaporeon can, but the rest of this team is not consistently taking hits. With Intimidate support, maybe some of them are, like, Leafeon's got reasonable physical defense, but the reasonable physical defense isn't going to help that much against a Mega Hornet, it's not going to help that much against an Icicle Spear or Icicle Crash. But, not to mention, obviously, the fact they do just have special attackers as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, this team can win in Trick Room. It will still need to outplay, because all this team needs is for Trick Room to end to be in a very secure position. But also if they can prevent Trick Room, it's very difficult. But I think if they can solve it in the sense of get speed control, or remove Primeape, without losing a Pokemon, I think they're in a reasonably strong position. But the problem is Primeape. I don't think the problem is Frostlass. I think if they have Frostlass next to a Vaporeon, that's something that that LS's team can deal with, assuming that they already have a Mon up. Problem is that they need to get to a Mon up.
Yeah.
So, let's look at what their team's actually brought.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we do see the Wordier. We see the Low-Kicks miss. I'd assume that's because of its frailty in the matchup as well as its inability to function. Like, we've seen that the Sucker Punch has maybe been a bit inconsistent. We do actually see the Jumpluff, which I think is perhaps somewhat of a surprise. But yeah, I think that the Wordier, which is the option to remove Trick Room, or counter Trick Room, and then the Vaporeon at pretty reasonable brings, like we said, the top 6 really is what makes the most sense. It's that or like a Scarf Rotom, but you'd probably rather Scarf any Pokemon that isn't Rotom in a Low-Kicks matchup.
Yeah.
So, if you are looking here from either of these positions, I think if you're Camo, unless you have like some prep build that isn't like the Sash, Frostlass plus Anger Point EVO like Primeape, then obviously I think you strongly consider leading that and then see what the answer is. You've got Jumpluff, which, like I mentioned, has access to Leech Seed. You do have the potential to sort of like outscale with something like a Leafeon or a Vaporeon, which could be a concern. And then you have like Wordier, which has a range of support options. So these are guys who can come. Sorry, when I say outscale, I mean the Leafeon can try and Swords Dance, and the idea being that it claims a Swords Dance on the turn that you set up Trick Room, and then but because it's claimed that Swords Dance, it can use that with potentially like a defensive Terror to try and like make trades in Trick Room, especially if they mean that you trade for nothing on turn 1. So if it clicks Terror on that first turn of Trick Room and you don't get a KO, but it gets a KO back, then that's something which is a really good way to turn your hand back onto Trick Room. To turn your progress, like to gain progress. Just losing the entire English language here. And then on this thing, you're like, okay, what is your Trick Room? Your Frostlass answer. I think the main things that we would look at here are probably Mabosstiff and Heracross, the Pokemon that have the ability to Choice Scarf and potentially be able to prevent a dear friend Frostlass from getting off. It's I'm forgetting everything again, sorry.
Frost Breath, its moves.
Yeah, the crit move, or even potentially
bag of
a
tricks.
taunt. So like a leaning a Scarfer next to Reuniclus, if the Reuniclus is Sash, makes a lot of sense. So
yeah,
we go to turn 1 here, we see Heracross and Wartortle. Now the Wartortle Pring, you maybe think is perhaps a little bit sus. I honestly don't know what you think here. I think here I'm like, okay, well this is Frost Breath, and if it isn't Frost Breath, it's whatever it's doing is probably not as good as Frost Breath. Then when I'm seeing the Heracross Wartortle, I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily know what the Wartortle is going for, but I think the Heracross is probably the Scarf Pokemon there.
Yeah, I could see Wartortle being like an okay,
like it's just a fake out, right?
Because basically it's gonna pressure Fake Out, so it might make the Primeape like reveal its Terror. Use the Terror early,
or
and
protect.
If you think you can leverage that. Yeah.
So, let's see what we see. So we see a Terror Rock Blast and a Fake Out.
Rock, Fake Out.
Oh. 2 hits.
Powerful. Oh. That's
It
sad.
looks like it needed 4 anyways, which is difficult.
I'm imagining that's a very defensive. That's like a bulky spread for Frostlass.
But
sense.
like a Helping Hand, I think, was probably be the other thing we might have wanted to see out of Wartortle here.
Yeah.
But we did not see a Helping Hand. We see Critical Hit go off, and this actually activates the Anger Point. Oh no, sorry, that's from the Frost Breath, not the Fake Out. Yeah. So that activates the Fake Out. We see that it is in fact thing. We actually see that's all like that seems pretty especially defensive to me. But I don't actually know. That took less.
Body disabled.
28. You telling me this 31 was like a mid roll? Yeah, no. Helping Hand, I think, is what we need to see from the Heracross here.
I think that's definitely a bulky Frostlass.
Yeah, and then it's just going to get Drain Punch recovery.
Yeah.
And then Wartortle isn't going to be able to do anything that matters.
It's
just not that good.
Yeah.
So the question is, do they double the Reuniclus? They do not, so that means we expect Trick Room to get up. Now the question is, so I was talking about how the Leafeon can. Okay, I don't know. I actually know why it's expanding.
Why is it expanding Force and not Psychic?
So they doubled the I don't know. I just said I don't know why it's expanding Force. We'll see if that is anything that comes out. So this looks like it is EVO Light, and it's doing okay. But the problem is that, for one thing, the Mabosstiff is faster than the Primeape.
Missed.
So the Primeape's min speed, and then you're looking at this and thinking the Mabosstiff probably isn't. The Mabosstiff is moving last in Trick Room, and that obviously is a difficult call. If you don't know if you're getting Trick Room up, being faster is nice. But yeah, the problem is
maybe leverage for game 2.
Like this Protect immediately won the game, right?
Yeah.
So how do you, if you can get Trick Room back up, which I think is maybe challenging, how do you actually like win from getting Trick Room up? I think that you are probably having to lead Reuniclus.
I think. Yeah, I think leading.
I actually don't see how Camo can lose from here.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, that's not true. They can miss Frost Breath.
Oh, it's 90%.
Isn't it 95? I have no idea.
I
thought it was 95 accuracy.
I've only used Frost Breath in game in Gen 5, and that's it. And I know it's a very different move now because of how, well, not very different, but it's had its like base power.
It's changed.
Power and stuff.
You've changed
because of changed in crit mechanics. Regardless, I think it's really tough, especially given
Frost Breath is 90 accuracy. So yes, but I expect that if you leave Reuniclus, you basically always see a taunt go into that slot, and then I don't know what's going into the Primeape. So that means you need to lead something next to Reuniclus that can KO the Frostlass. Now the problem is, it doesn't look like anything KOs the Frostlass.
Like Rhydon would, but Rhydon is...
That's true. Rhydon's probably, like, fine. If you lead Rhydon plus Reuniclus, you can set Trick Room. Would Rhydon, though? Does Rhydon have a higher attack than Heracross?
No, it's got Stab, though.
So did Heracross, it used Terra.
Yeah, but it only hit 2 things of Rock Blast, so that's effectively 50 base power.
Yeah, like, but it would have needed to hit 4. If we think that this is Sash, which I do still think it's Sash,
sure.
It looks like you would need to hit 4 with Rhydon. So, let's see. So we see a Wartortle play. This is clearly for Protect and Trick Room, and I think that, Taunt just immediately stops that from doing anything. Frankly, I think Wartortle is probably really bad. It takes the hits, but, like, that's super effective. You know what? Okay, you know what? They Protect. Okay. Now, this is the thing that we said, right? Removing Primeape is good.
Yeah.
Do you win the game, though?
Well, that's the question. So in comes
Rhydon. Okay, well, having to double switching your Wartortle out into that guy doesn't seem great.
No.
Okay, that doesn't seem great.
Okay.
Let's see. Do we kill the Frostlass?
We
high horsepower crit, which is...
See, that's how you kill the Frostlass. You just crit it.
That's so true, bestie. The Shadow Ball comes out, removes the Wartortle. I think this is a win, right?
I don't...
Another crit. So many crits in this series.
Okay, Expanding Force, 35.
Okay, Rock Slide is not a good sign. Okay, the flinch. The double flinch.
Okay, yeah, you win. Yeah, so you're right. You're right. You do win from here.
I was probably, in my position, I think I'd probably high horsepower the Vaporeon there, but I don't know if it is the game decider. That's so... Yeah.
You just have to get the double flinch.
You just need to switch around a bunch, let them to let you set Trick Room up, and then get a double flinch.
It's broken.
So I think the main takeaway from that is, why the hell did they Terra the Primeape? Like, I know it was for the Reuniclus, right? Because they didn't want to get Expanding Force, but if they just switched the Primeape and knocked out the Sash on Reuniclus, I think that's pretty safe. But I think LS play this set crazy. Like, the Taunt play obviously went really badly. The Wartortle Fake Out was not necessarily particularly effective, but the Wartortle being like that bulky Eviolite worked out. Again, only because they clicked the Terra into the thing weak to Hydro Pump, and then also knocked it into Torrent, right? Because if I probably would have still died to the Expanding Force double up. Actually, even if they hadn't Terra, they probably still died to the double up, right? Rage Fist being 100 base power after one hit is not great when it's not stab. Yeah, so they still would have died that turn. Unless the Wartortle is randomly much stronger than the Reuniclus. I think the Torrent is pretty significant.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a good point, actually. The Torrent, I completely forgot about.
Okay, so... Yeah, sorry. The reason that it did this much when previously without the Terra it did 25, so it would be doing 50, is because it has Torrent. So that's why it did 80. But Expanding Force likely KOs there. Either way, because they're taking a super effective hit regardless. And now, coming into this third game, I don't see any reason to change your lead with Camo. You could consider changing Wardeer in the back. These are physical attackers that would be annoying, the Heracross and Rhydon.
Yeah.
Intimidate maybe could be enough. That said, the Rhydon's not Eviolite, because the Wartortle is Eviolite, so does that mean then that the Rhydon is Clear Amulet? I think that's something you have to be concerned about, especially because you saw Rock Slide, not Rock Blast. If you saw Rock Blast, you would very strongly suspect loaded dice, but you didn't see that. I think you just basically always have to lead Reuniclus if your name is LS here.
Yeah.
But because threatening Trick Room and getting up Trick Room are both really important. What's right?
Yeah. Or if your name was anyone, but you're in LS's shoes, I think
exactly
the same.
If you're the Goat Dozer. I honestly think that leading anything and doubling Frostlass is good. That said, I think it's pretty likely that they see you lead Reuniclus and don't go for the Frost Breath play. And don't go for the Taunt and just go for the Frost Breath play themselves.
Yeah.
I'd probably hedge towards leading Reuniclus plus Heracross. That said, if you have
That's
Helping
not a
Hand
bad play.
on Wartortle, which you don't, unfortunately, I think you don't have Helping Hand. Like, I think Helping Hand, turn 1 here, probably won.
Yeah. I think, like, leading Heracross, Reuniclus, and then just double targeting the Primeape is gonna be your best chance of winning, I think. Because
But
you
what if
know
they
can't... Like, Frostlass can't, like, kill either Pokemon, though. You know?
Yeah, but it can break the sash on the Reuniclus.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, fair. Let's...
Also,
yeah.
if you Terra, you definitely live an Expanding Force with
Plus the CC,
Primeape.
yeah.
So, you just Drain Punch
Yeah.
all the health back.
Sure.
But yeah,
It's
so
difficult.
I think that you can... Okay, so I think that Wartortle... I mean, they didn't even go for Fake Out with Wartortle, right?
Yeah, no, it would have gone first. We see
Yeah.
the Frost Breath.
I think that... Yeah, I mean, I think the Camo has to call the bluff, right? I think that you are in an awkward position here. I think that it may have to have been Heracross.
Yeah.
But let's see. Okay, so Trick Room goes up. No, Trick Room doesn't go up, right? Oh, missing the Hydro.
Hydro Pump missed. Well, they did double target the
Frostlass, yeah.
Frostlass, like you suggested.
I think that is an option, but my thoughts were that you would be doing it with Heracross, which had the chance of preventing it from doing stuff.
Yeah. A small chance.
But yeah, I think that Camo, like, in this position, is just in a really good position.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Obviously, at no point did Camo ever miss. So, like, we can see the damage is high up now. At no point did Camo... Oh, that's just dying anyway. Oh, never mind. It's going to Earthquake your own guy. And get a crit onto the Leafeon, which did nothing, because Leafeon has reasonable physical defense. So the question is, does this actually do anything to the guy? And it does. But Drain Punch is just broken.
Yeah.
And now I assume a Fake Out and Earthquake comes out. Is this banded,
It's gotta
actually?
be banded. Yeah, it's gotta be banded.
Yeah. See, if you had Camo's stats, or if I was even checking, rather than trying to push through it faster, because all the critics say that the videos are too long, I think I probably would have realised it was banded earlier.
Oh well, I like that Rhydon got a kill there, that's nice.
I don't think that's actually how it's input, unfortunately.
That's
that's
a
it.
shame.
Here we are.
Yep, we got the
Banded
banding
Rhydon.
Rhydon. Safety goggles, my boss stiff for the jump off.
Yep.
Warzevial, Wartortle, Life Bear Tech, Choice Scarf,
Heracross.
Adamant, Heracross.
It had Helping Hand. The Wartortle had Helping Hand. They could have Helping Hand, Rock Blasted turn 1, game 1.
Yeah.
They could have done it. Game
2.
Game
3.
3, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't go for the Helping Hand version of the play. Okay. I think it works much better in game 1, because in game 3, the Primeape can Drain Punch the Wartortle. The last Focus Blast, Expanding Force. Psychic Terrain. Manual Psychic Terrain for low kicks. That's cool. That makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that is cool.
They never said it, unfortunately. Obviously, low kicks didn't come. So then we see on the other side, Wide Lens. That's a strong degree of consistency, right? And that's why we saw when it took that high horsepower, it fainted, right?
That is
that's
very
why it's not
bulky.
Sash. That is very bulky, yes. But the most important thing is, like, yes, the Wide Lens, meaning that there's a 1% chance. You know, and Jamie Boy did lose out in the tournament running a Wide Lens Leaf Storm, so...
So you're saying
Acrobatics.
there's a chance.
We did see Acrobatics, didn't we? Like, in this game. No? I think
No.
we saw it? No.
I never recall Acrobatics.
Oh, sorry, Leafeon clicked Aerial Ace.
Yeah.
I was like, we saw a random flying move, but yes. The Specs Vaporeon, I don't think it ever hit the field, right?
No, it did.
Oh, no, it did. That's right, it lost. Because it's a loser. And I don't know if we necessarily got the information that it was Specs, because we saw it crit the Reuniclus. But it's possible that the crit mattered anyways.
Possibly.
I think my, like, trying to go through detail doesn't necessarily work when I'm trying to rush. I mean, Bolt Beam coverage. It's probably broken. So the Mabostiff was really fast. And it wound up outspeeding a lot, but it didn't have damage. I wonder if the problem is that it needed to have damage. Like attack investment. But, like, the Eviolite Primeape is quite challenging to get through. It was taking nothing from that player off. So Mabosstiff may not be strong enough. Or maybe more offensive Mabosstiff, like maybe if it was the Life Orb or the Choice Bander, maybe that would have enabled the team to break through a bit more consistently. But having access to multiple Pokemon that had reasonable protects as well as this Taunt was, I think, a very significant impediment to trying to win in Trick Room. As well as, like we saw, they did have the Word in. That's it. They bring it, so... Or did they bring it? We don't know if they brought it, right?
No,
we only saw 3 Pokemon this game, and we only saw 3 Pokemon this game.
Yeah.
I think it's actually probably pretty reasonable to assume there's Vaporeon in the back of both of these games. I didn't talk at any point about trying to figure out what you brought in the back. Sorry.
No. Oh well. Oh, that's your matchup. The easiest matchup of all time, some say?
Yep, I believe that they said that Jolteon just beats this entire team.
Jolteon is pretty good here.
You know, I've never seen...
Except for the Gliscor.
And the Brambleghast and the Kilowattrel.
You know, it's okay to the Kilowattrel if it's wind power. Which, you know, probably isn't.
So,
yeah, it's...
obviously this is a team which is worried about Weavile.
Yeah, for sure.
And then this is a team which has the ability to go very offensive or into a longer game, but it's one that probably wants to go very offensive in this matchup. Tailwind, giving access to charge and thing, being able to sort of eat my Heat Waves as a potential option is pretty happy with. But outside that, not really a lot of wind boost coming from my end, but the Tailwind +1 attack is pretty significant, and like I said, the charge boost.
Like, it stops your guy from doing Heat Wave.
And something I think that I didn't look at as much in prep, because I was very challenged trying to figure out how to check anything, and honestly a bit tilted by the Spotlight commentary. Flareon, very difficult for my team to take hits from.
Flareon is a surprisingly strong guy.
Well, it's got 130 attack and guts, and flatlets.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good at forcing damage through on my team.
Yeah.
And then, there was the Robska, which I was mildly worried about. But yeah, I think if you're looking at this team, the question is, how do you beat the fast guys? Because this team is actually really reliable at beating through the defensive idiots. Like Hydrapple, you know, I think like this guy is a good matchup in Hydrapple, this guy's a good matchup in Hydrapple, this guy's a good matchup in Hydrapple, this guy's a neutral matchup in Hydrapple, but it can be good depending on how you invest it. And then Robska's also got a good matchup in Hydrapple as well as Skuntank. So it's like, okay, I have to try and stay on the offensive front, but then also not lose, which is very difficult.
Yeah.
The main problem that this team has is that it wants to run Sash on everything, and then it doesn't because of item clause.
Even like your guys that are like okay defensively, like even you guys that are okay defensively, like into some Pokemon are just beaten by others. Like Skarmory is actually pretty good at checking Bramble, but then it just loses to Kilowattrel and Flareon.
Do you know what the sad thing is?
Yeah?
It's not good at checking Bramble.
It's like...
The +1 attack is really, really good.
Yeah, Bramble's kind of cracked.
But something that I should have noticed earlier that I didn't necessarily clock when I was building is a lot of my utility is based on like the value of items, and Skuntank Knock is actually really free against my team. I have a really bad Dark matchup. I did know that I had a bad Dark matchup, but I hadn't appreciated just how abusable it was.
Skuntank, I think, in this format, and like just in Gen 9, is really good.
Skuntank is like a Swiss Army knife. Good. Or, no, that's not what I mean. It's like our master key. Like, there are some matchups it really unlocks. That's it. I think both of our teams are the exact same idea of, they're really, like, the top sort of 9 are really problematic, and then the other guys are annoying. And then this one, they've got, like, the top 8 that's really, really strong and consistent Pokemon. And then 3 other guys that are somewhat annoying.
Very diverse teams, I think very good teams.
So
is this a top of the table clash?
No, I don't think so. I don't think any of us. I don't think either party knows what the other Pokemon they're bringing. I think all of these. I think probably all 9, but at least all 8 of the Pokemon not named Timber are good in the matchup, and I think every single Pokemon on my opponent's team is good in the matchup. That's how these teams are designed. They're Pokemon that slot effectively into basically any matchup. I don't think that there is like I think I focused on a bunch of Pokemon in prep, and I think that wound up in me under-focusing on other Pokemon. Not necessarily as, like... There wasn't a Pokemon in this matchup that my opponent couldn't bring. And there isn't a Pokemon on my matchup that I couldn't bring. I did wind up going for the top 6, but that's just because they're the top 6. And I don't know that was necessarily a correct decision, but it was just the decision that I made. And then they did not go for the top 6, as we see here. Both Sliggoo and Meowth game. That does tell me basically always Meowth is Sash, Sliggoo is Eviolite. We see the Flareon here. We do not see Brambleghast.
That's interesting.
I'm looking at my team of 6. I don't think it mattered whether this Pokemon was Sliggoo or Brambleghast. I brought a team that was really hard against Brambleghast, so I think that they've discouraged against it. I don't think Sliggoo is ever hitting the field. I don't think Sliggoo was ever doing anything, so I don't think it matters. It's a dead slot, but the dead slot could have been Brambleghast. But I prepped very hard for Brambleghast. I just think that they considered that my ability to prep for it was effective, and I think that's fair. So then the question is, how do I stop Kilowattrel? And then the question, like setting Tailwind, and then the question is, how do I actually win? And I think that one of those, it's very difficult for me to answer both questions. And then they just need to survive my onslaught and get trades. Unfortunately, like they did bring, like I think the Meowth is actually like a pretty, I think I underrated it as an effective disruption tool in the matchup. It's a really weird guy. Like I've used a Alolan Meowth before, as well as regular Meowth, and they can feel hard to bring, but they do provide good utility. They're not Alolan Persian, and they're not regular Persian. But in this format, especially when your team is as polarizing as this one is, for one thing, it's got no other fake out, right? But so many of these Pokemon just win games. Like Kilowattrel can just win games, and then Empo can do that, and Flareon can do that, right? It's about being able to, about having the tech pieces who can position you to be able to just win those games. And this team absolutely has the right pieces. So, Meowth is something that makes a lot of sense as just like a really good discount on a good supportive Pokemon. Because you can just throw a Focus Ash on it, and it doesn't matter. So, if I'm looking here, I have to lead for Kilowattrel. Because Skuntank and Flareon are really problematic with speed control, and then I'm like, okay, well, Meowth is actually a bit of a problem. So then my lead is, like, they could default to thinking Jolteon Weavile, definitely a reasonable lead. Then they have the option of considering whether I'm going to run a Choice Scarfer, which enables me to not have to worry about a speed tie with Weavile. And then the only Pokemon here I have, which is faster than Kilowattrel with a Scarf, is Pyroar. So they would suspect that I'm leading some combination of Jolteon, Pyroar, and Weavile, because they didn't bring Espeon, which is my Trick Room setter, which is the other guy I'd bring. Or I'm leading Weavile and Skarmory, with the idea being that I can set my own Tailwind back as counter.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I don't know, I think it's just something where I do think that your opponent is likely going to be leading Kilowattrel on something, but I do think, it's a bigger question for
They could lead Flareon to try and get a potential Toxic Orb off if they are the gut set. They could lead Skuntank for knockoff, or they could lead Meowth for support. Theoretically, they could lead an Empoleon, though I think Empoleon is really good in the back if you are expecting me to lead Jolteon. That said, Empoleon's absolutely a fine lead, depending on what it's like actually got on the set.
I'm very interested to see how it goes.
That said, there obviously are... Now, when I'm talking about like what are the straightforward leads, in prep, being able to consider non-straightforward leads, that means your opponent has to be on the back foot that they may not have planned for, is a good thing. So we actually do see them leading Skuntank and Empoleon. So this sort of sets off... Okay.
I did not expect that.
So this makes me think, okay, they are worried about Kilowattrel. They have probably realized that this Pyroar is Scarf.
Mm-hmm.
And now I didn't clock onto this at the time, but something that I really should have realized is, oh, my team is really bad into knockoff. Also, the thing that I knew 100% for sure is one of these Pokemon are Assault Vest. I don't think you ever make this lead without Assault Vesting one of these Pokemon. The question is which one.
Makes sense.
I made the call that it was Skuntank, but it was a complete coin flip. Either way, I should double target the Pokemon I think is Assault Vest. I think is not Assault Vest.
That makes sense.
Because I'm not going to be able to break through the Pokemon that is Assault Vest unless it's Skuntank and I Axle it. But like, I'm not going to be able to break through the Empo unless
Skibidi.
What's right?
You won't be able to break through Skibidi.
Indeed.
I say
I don't know
with
what
a
lot these jokes are.
of disdain in my voice. I think that makes a lot of sense. I really think this was actually
Do you just,
a really
like,
good
not
lead from your
talk to
opponent.
children? Like, why do you dislike Scooby? I actually used to watch The Fuck Boom back when they made, like, Grand Theft Auto parodies.
I talk to children all the time. It's why,
That's
for
right.
my job, it's why I don't like it. Anyway,
Okay.
I do think this was a really this is a really good lead from your opponent. I think,
Yeah,
like,
well,
it really
the thing is,
turns
like,
the anti-Kilowattrel lead on its head.
if I let Jolteon, obviously that's mildly annoying for them or whatever. Like, if I let
but
Weavile Jolteon, depending on what their investment in spread is, right? Like, if this Pyro was Specs, this is not a good lead for them. Now, this Pyro is Scarf, but if it's Specs, it's entirely possible this is not a good lead for them. Because I can force damage into whichever of these Pokemon, right? And then they need to be able to take enough back that they are removing one of my guys. If Weavile Sash, very difficult for them to remove it because both my Pokemon are going first. That said, what this does do is put me off, right? But I don't think that it's necessarily an inherently good or bad lead for them. The question is, like, do I get the call right? Do I know which Pokemon they can do? In fact, I think it's one that they're pretty likely to feel pressure to like, they feel on the back foot, so they have to protect or Terra. And we see that them. I go for the Burning Jealousy here. I don't have Heat Wave because of the thing. We see immediately this Empoleon is Assault Vest as hell. Very few Pokemon have had quite this degree of a vest on it. This is the sort of Mr. Burns vest, right?
Made from real gorilla chest.
Yeah. So, should have Fire Blasted if I was Specs. Obviously, did 1.5x more damage. But we see a knockoff come off.
Oof.
If I just single targeted that Empoleon, it was dead.
It was,
and then that was a losing turn, right? So, I don't agree with you saying that this is a really good lead from their end. Because we see their Assault Vest. If they want Assault Vest, this was dead.
Yeah.
If I low kick, this was dead, right? So this is here. They immediately realize that this Pokemon is Scarf because it's faster than Weavile, and Weavile's always needs to speed type Kilowattrel, and that the Weavile is banded.
Yeah.
But like the other thing I considered doing here was clicking Terra Fire on Pyroar. And if I had, I think it became a roll to KO. No, it didn't. That's not how that math works. It doesn't do 1.5x. That's for non-stab. Yeah. But yeah, like a Terrify Heat Wave, or like I said, any single target move would have removed this Empoleon. And if it was an Assault Vest, very likely fainting itself.
No,
so it's a lead matchup that worked out well for them. But I also could have like thrown an Axel into Skuntank, right?
Yeah, I guess. Like, I just thought it was decent. Like, we obviously don't know the.
I think this matchup is far too volatile to say whether it's like a good or bad matchup. But again, I throw a low kick into this Empoleon, or if I Terra Dark my Weavile, then this, like, obviously they don't know often Terra Dark, right? But this is a really risky lead matchup for both of us. I think that you're saying. I don't think it's inherently the correct analysis that this is a good lead matchup. This is a lead matchup which is really volatile and very likely to decide who wins the game. Now, my Pokemon are moving first, which means I also have the ability to get critical hits or anything. Like, it's one which is very likely to be impactful. I just don't know that you can say at this point, like at this point of the game, you're like, okay, well that's really bad, right? Because both of my Pokemon have fainted this turn. Sorry, not both of my Pokemon. This one just got knocked off. But like, if I had killed the Skuntank, or even if I had, like I said, Terra Dark the Empoleon, and Terra Dark the Weavile, as I've brought Terra Dark before, if the Empoleon was dead here, that was a really bad turn for them, because they got some chip on Pyroar in exchange for losing their Empoleon. This is a turn that went well, but this is a turn that could have gone really badly. Even if I Terra Ghosted, right? Then my Weavile doesn't go down there. They chip both of my Pokemon, but they're still like being threatened, and then I bring out Skarm, which is potentially faster than Empoleon, and depending on how the Skuntank is invested, potentially faster than that. Reasonably good into Skuntank, unless they're running mixed with like Flamethrower. Though Knockoff, like I said, really good utility and something that I underrated. So it's a really good turn because they removed Weavile, which is problematic. And they led a lead that was good into threatening Weavile. But I think like it was a really volatile turn. And again, Flamethrower here, or like a Terra on the Weavile, and that was a bad turn for them. Because
I think it might just be
it's a really
because I'm
volatile
assuming
matchup.
that Skuntank has Sucker Punch, but that's why I think this Like, that's why I think this lead matchup is so good, because I really think, like, regardless of what happens, it's very easy to, like, even worst case scenario with Skuntank Sucker Punch just Sucker Punch to get your sort of kill back, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know, I think it's pretty...
Like, I mean, well, let's see, do they Sucker Punch? I switch in, because Sucker Punch is a move that you can play around really easily. They actually go for Vacuum Wave, which is an interesting reveal. I think it basically averts for me this is Terra fighting. Because I just think it's really unlikely to use Vacuum Wave. I understand it has some utility against Weavile, but as we can see, Flash Cannon is very consistent, and I've been bringing Terra Ghost a decent bit. It is sort of the default Weavile one. But, like, to be honest, if I was Sash here, even, like, I think this becomes a bad turn. No, not a bad turn, sorry. I'm trying not to overstate it, but I think that you just, like, made a very strong statement. But this is just a difficult turn for both of our players here. Now, I haven't used my Terra yet, but I have two Pokemon, like, very likely they have Kilowattrel and Flareon in the back, potentially Meowth, but I think Sliggoo reasonably unlikely with how offensively they're bringing it. It really just seems like a Life Dew bot. And then Flareon and Kilowattrel are there, like, strong guys that can follow up and be annoying, especially since I have lost my speed control, because Weavile's fainted and Pyro's knocked off, so I no longer have a Pokemon faster than Kilowattrel. Now, both of my Pokemon are threatened to want to Terra here, because Skarmory wants to Terra to check Kilowattrel, and Hydrapple wants to Terra to check Skuntank.
Yep.
Now, I have, unfortunately, so yeah, they go for knockoff here. This removing the Citrus Berry is really bad for the Skarmory. Yeah, so now I'm in this turn with both my Pokemon want a Terra. So I go for the Terra Dragon here. If I get a Citrus Berry, man, this is a really awesome position. I've just healed back up to 25%, but I don't. And I get this Earth Power here, and it doesn't go for the KO. The other thing I could have done here was go for Fickle Beam, which would, if it got the 30% chance, have KO'd. I hate Fickle Beam.
Fickle Beam is a jerk move for jerks, I think.
Like, I just don't want to ever click it.
It's like, hey, remember... You know how, like, ridiculous, like, how much ridiculous, I guess, for lack of a better term, variance School can have in terms of, like, the 30% to just burn you and cripple your Pokemon? Or what if instead it's just 30% chance to knock out the Pokemon?
Yeah. So I went for the Earth Power because I didn't know what the investment was. I thought it was reasonably likely that Skuntank would survive, but I didn't know that for sure. And then Skuntank survived. They go for Tailwind here, but they just have the ability to remove Hydrapple, and then I am very unlikely to be able to beat Kilowattrel plus Skuntank. So this turn they come, they're able to delete the Kilowattrel guy, and then I have to be able to beat the thing. So they come here, they get a Air/Flinch here. So theoretically, depending on what's in the back, this is winnable if I delete the Kilowattrel here, but very difficult, because they have the 13%, and then, again, depending on what is in the back, I have to try and roost up and then beat two Pokemon by themselves while risking the poison chance. But technically winnable, but with the Air/Flinch definitely not winnable. And even then, still very difficult because I was very low. But I had to remove the Kilowattrel that turn. I hate so much. I don't know, man. I don't think that Hydrapple, like, I don't know. I'm not being the same Hydrapple that I was. Now, they have a very high degree of ability to adapt, but because they know that the Weavile is banded and the Pyro is Scarf, they can basically always lead Meowth.
Yeah. They can lead Meowth.
They can just sort of do whatever they want because they're not threatened by anything. But in Jealousy is not very strong, unfortunately. And
like
the tanky Skuntank is very effective.
Correct?
What's sorry? Yeah, 70. But spread. 70 spread.
Yeah.
Spread is so bad. Because move base power decreases if it's a spread move. And moving from a low base power move to a lower base power move sucks. And I could have brought Heatwave and been fine because they didn't bring Brambleghast, but, you know, it's fine.
But you could not, if you made that call, you're too crazy.
I also could just Flamethrower it instead of clicking Heatwave. So... But yeah, the Banded Weavile not being able to, like, a high volatility turn. So if I'd made commits that, like I mentioned, going for the Flamethrower, like actually committing to doubling, like that is a play that has a winning potential. I think I played this turn to just like, oh, you know, I think that the Skuntank's probably the thing or whatever. If I go for a Terra on the Weavile, it literally doesn't matter as long as it's not weak to ice. Not weak to steel anymore. And triple axle the Skuntank. If the triple axle hits, the Skuntank is dead. and they haven't done anything with Empoleon that turn. You know, there are a lot of plays I could have made, but didn't because I'm bad. So, game 2. Weavile Clawitzer. The reason I adapted Clawitzer is I wanted a Pokemon that was sturdier into the 2 Pokemon that they led, and it is reasonably good at threatening Empoleon.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Neither of these Pokemon I have are currently threatened by Empoleon. Sorry, that's not true. That's sorry. Clawitzer is not threatened by Empoleon, and then I have threatening Terra to make it so that Weavile is good into Empoleon.
Yep, for sure.
That said, the fact that they know that I'm banded, banded not working is really bad because it's not very consistent in this matchup. It means that I have to lock into stuff too much. That said,
it was
two ice resists.
Was banded to was banded for like a Kilowattrel thing.
Yeah, so I could ice shard the Kilowattrel, but it's also only because I couldn't run Sash on it.
Yeah.
Like, if I could run Sash, I would have run Sash, but I couldn't run Sash, so it was Banded or Life Orb. As far as you know, obviously they haven't seen Life Orb in any of my other Pokemon. The reason that it wasn't Sash is because Jolteon Sash. But Jolteon
that was my next question. Oh well, let's see what happens.
So I have to switch here.
Switch into Hydro Apple,
on Flash Cannon or Vacuum Wave. We see Vacuum Wave come out. They know I'm not Sash, right? So now I just need to have a Pokemon that's going all out. Now they see the Hydro Apple as Assault Vest. The question is, am I going all out? And I am going all out.
No, you're not.
So it was a good, which I was. It went all out.
Oh, what? Oh yeah, it went all out for the attack. There you go.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, they click Parting Shot. And they also break my Sash. On the downside for them, I still get the KO, but now I'm less threatening into their other Pokemon. I don't have Sash on the Jolteon, so it's just useless.
Fake Out. Facade.
Yeah. So now I have the ability to threaten Thunderbolt into either slot. I threaten it into the Flareon. Unfortunately, the Flareon is broken, so I lose my Clawitzer. Actually,
crit.
I think that didn't matter, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
I actually don't remember if that mattered. But yeah.
Clawitzer does seem to have okay bulk, but...
What's right?
Yeah, Clawitzer does have like pretty okay bulk, and that Water Pulse even at -1 would have done a decent amount. But who knows?
I definitely would have fainted.
Oh, it'd be at like -2, I guess.
Yeah, -2.
I would have fainted after the Toxic, likely.
No, they parting shotted the Jolteon.
Oh, yeah, -1. Yeah.
I think it probably fainted. I don't know. The guy's strong, but it didn't Terra, so maybe.
Yeah, it's 140 base power.
I can
base
check
power
very easily.
+1. He's running the numbers.
How much did I actually take? 93? I would never have
93.
fainted. Oh my god, dude. I didn't even realize it came to that.
Oh, there you go.
How am I more tilted about this game now than I was at the time? Okay, so... Yeah, if they were...
It was all
if they were
lies
Adamant,
and
Guts,
cheats.
Facade, Max Attack invested, to my spread it did a max of 90. That's so crazy.
It was all lies and cheats from your opponent that let them win.
Now, I made the worst play possible here, and I went for knockoff. So the thing is that I knew that the Meowth was in the back, and I knew that it had Icy Wind and Fake Out and Parting Shot, all of which were relevant. And I made the worst possible play, which is knockoff, which I... Sorry. I'm overstating it. I knew that the Meowth was not Technician.
Yeah.
Because of the Fake Out damage on turn 1. So I knew it had the ability Rattled, which means I knew it got the +1 speed from knockoff. I should never have clicked knockoff there. Triple Axle always KO'd.
Yeah.
So I should have always triple axled the Meowth there. But I didn't, and that was a bad play.
Yeah, because that allows them to get the +1 speed, and then Icy Wind, which makes your...
Now, that said, I make another bad play here. I should always double the Skuntank. But I don't, because I'm stupid. Like, I should just go for the knock to get enough damage into Skuntank for Hydro Apple to be able to threaten it, and then they can't beat both of my Pokemon with just Flareon.
Yeah.
So, they reveal Temper Flare here, and then I go for that. That said, if I got the going all out here, the Skuntank fainted. I hate Fickle Beam.
Do the 30% roll every time.
But the worst thing is, because they get the Citrus Berry off, they heal. And now
Yeah.
I am in a much more difficult situation, but also they can just facade me here, and that is very likely to remove. So I basically just meant that I was down a turn. I should always have doubled the Skuntank there.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I also should always have triple axled instead of going for knockoff. So I just made bad plays. But that's it. It looks like I would have won if not for the Clawitzer crit, which is mildly annoying.
That's life,
I
unfortunately.
think they adapted pretty well.
Yeah, I think
The Iron Defense Scum reset
definitely
was
despite
theoretically fine, but it was very difficult with the Kilowattrel, and they
Yeah.
played the Kilowattrel very well. Like Pancake, I think, played well.
But the Kilowattrel
Faking
and also the like the Empoleon as well. Like I guess it was body press.
I actually think the Empoleon... oh yeah, sorry, the Empoleon was completely terrible in Discovery, and that's why I brought the Scum reset. Actually, the Empoleon didn't do... Like, it wasn't a particularly significant part of the game. I think part of it is competitive. I think this competitive was a bad brain. I think it should have always been Torrent.
Yeah, because
But they didn't, and they wound up not clicking water moves, even though they like were consistently put into Torrent and could have gotten like competitive damage.
Yeah.
This is actually wrong because
Hydro
we know this was Terra Fighting and click Terra Fighting in the game.
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah,
What other lies were sent on this
So-
space?
I don't know. So my Clawitzer had 244 HP and 52 defense, so it always lived that facade, if not for the crit. And Water Pulsed, which means that I basically locked out that game.
Oh well. That's the first L for the season.
Yeah.
We can see the Bandit Eye Shard. We can see Scarf, Overheat, Flamethrower, Hyper Voice, Burning Jealousy. We got a pretty good look at. Oh, we see Selfest on the Hydrapple, which we could probably have killed. We see basically you used all your Pokemon. We got a pretty good look at a lot of their movesets besides. Like,
Yeah, they never saw the
Jolteon
Bacan
and
Berry. It didn't wind up coming into play. They saw the Hydrapple was a Solfest. They saw the Scarm was Citrus. They saw that this was like I think they never noticed the Sash, but it didn't
they
matter
could've
because
probably
I had to
assumed-
switch into Ice
yeah.
Beam.
Yeah.
Who else did I have in the back? When I switched into Ice Beam, I think I had Hydrapple.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't
you
going to
had-
switch the
I think-
Hydrapple into a 4X Ice Beam.
Yeah.
As we saw, Terra Dragon.
Oh, had it
Hydrapple
Terran
was
at that
pretty
point?
reasonably good.
Had it Terran at that point?
On turn 2? I don't think so. Oh, no, it was out.
Oh, was that?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
so you
switched
had,
Hydrapple out.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But who did I have in the back?
Would have been Weavile.
Oh, if it was Weavile, I should definitely switch the Weavile in. So this turn, next turn, I switch in Jolteon. I should have switched in Weavile. I don't know why I didn't switch in Weavile. Why didn't I switch in Weavile? I don't know. I don't think I played this set particularly well. It's annoying that it came down to that crit.
Yeah.
But I don't think I played this set particularly well. I think my leads were fine both games, but I really shouldn't have equivocated with the Burning Jealousy. Flamethrower was a much better play. I was strongly considering terraing the Weavile, but I really wanted to terra both Gomery and Hydrapple for various reasons. But I should have just terraed the Weavile turn 1. It was Terra Fire as well, which is actually really good into the potential Flash Cannon, and would have meant that I was very likely out of range of a following Sucker Punch. It had a Band of Foul Play because I needed to kill Brambleghast through Terras. And if it terrored into any type that resisted ice, it died to Foul Play. Even if it didn't have the attack boost yet. And I wanted to resist the grass move coming from it. The idea being that it could always lead trades into it. We didn't see this Lingu. I think it's fairly reasonable to say that, like I said, it was life due. Sort of what you expect.
Yeah, that's spray.
But yeah, I'd say it's fairly interchangeable with if there was Brambleghast in that slot. So I don't know that prepping for Brambleghast was necessarily the problem. Obviously, could have just played better. I never should have gone for that knockoff play instead of triple axle. If I triple axle, it only came down to accuracy. But like letting the Meowth get the boost was really dumb, and then not being able to threaten Skuntank was also really dumb. But I think I made a bunch of pretty significant misplays there that allowed them to capitalize on their luck earlier in the set, as well as their good prep. Like they played the game very cleanly. I don't know. With the Facade turn, when they got the Facade crit, is there another move that they could have done? No, they faked out the Jolteon, and that was definitely important, because otherwise the Flareon would be dead, because it would have Thunderbolted it.
Yep.
No, that's the following turn. With a Punning Shot. They didn't have any other attacking moves, right? Oh no, they Foul Play. So if they're going for Foul Play and Facade there, that was more consistent. Then they wouldn't have needed the crit. That's probably the main takeaway. But they didn't know that I had the defense investment that I did. But they probably could have inferred I was max HP. And I think even if I was just max HP, it's a roll. Yeah, if I'm just max HP, it's a roll heavily in my favor to live a Facade. So they probably could have thought that turn differently as well. I don't think that turn had to go that way. I think Foul Play probably sealed that turn up for them. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. It's like, I do think that game 2 was really close.
Yeah.
So it would have been interesting to go to a game 3, but I'll say Livy, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I just didn't play very well.
Yep. Well, let's follow up with another loser, or perhaps a winner.
We'll see.
Indeed.
So we have Muxtox, who was originally slated to co-host, but stuff happened. And yourself.
This is the third opponent who has made transactions just like before playing me. That Regice was something else.
Yep.
Just wanted to sort of get that complaint out of the way.
Okay, and now that we look at this, we see that they have one Pokemon that checks Berserker. Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah,
we look at this and we see that they have two Weavile checks in Crawdaunt and Tinkaton, and then you look at them again and you realize, wow, both of those Pokemon lose to Weavile. Is Weavile just good? Is
Weavile broken? Lose to Weavile.
Weavile has a very good matchup, I think, into Crawdaunt, but it's obviously got a more neutral matchup into Tinkaton. But if you just put Pokemon next to it that pressure Tinkaton, then you can just do it. You can force enough damage into it because it's got very good special defense, but not as good physical defense. Also, another potential Flygon matchup. You are often wanting to play around the Typhlosion again. Like we saw last week, you led Mismagius and Scarf Mismagius and banded Flygon, and that seems pretty reasonably good here because they aren't that good into Ghost and they aren't that good into Ground. The Pokemon that are good into Ground are bad into Ghost, the Pokemon that are good into Ghost are bad into Ground. And Icy Wind means that you can stabilize against Typhlosion pretty consistently.
Yep. Basically, that's a really good way of putting it. It really does stop Scarf Typhlosion in leads. Realistically, looking at the team when I was prepping, it's the top. This is the top 6. Top 6. Top.
Grumpig could come because it's got thick fat.
Yeah.
Venomoth is maybe a fringe option. Lantern is if you're really worried about Crawdaunt or Typhlosion. Lantern
I considered coming very strongly.
Yeah.
But
I actually don't think this is a bad Vigoroth matchup either.
No. I think the thing is, I had to sort of
Bulk Up Vigoroth is pretty good.
Guys not lose to Regice. Because Regice can be a very annoying Pokemon.
It's quite tanky.
And I don't have the greatest Ice matchup as well with my 2 quad-weak Dragon types.
I mean, you do have 3 Ice resists, 4 Ice resists. I've got thick fat.
Yeah.
But often, I think you would expect Regice to be able to outscale like a Slowking. It just has 200 base special defense, and that's good. And it's got Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and then whatever coverage moves it wants to bring. That said, it doesn't have a great coverage move into Lantern, so clearly it needs to run Terra Blast Ground. Grass. Something. Terra Blast something. That's the answer. That said,
100%.
Yeah, this is just a team where both of the teams have really good sluggers. Zebstrika and Lycanroc are reasonably annoying for your team to deal with as well. Neither are broken, but you have that Mismagius Flygon lead, which is very difficult for them to deal with, and then you have the ability to follow it with Weavile, to follow it with Hydrapple, follow it with Slowking, follow it with Berserker, and then you also have the Trick Room option, which it's a they got the Imprisoned guy there, but if they're leading Trevenant, they're just forfeiting a turn, right? If you can stop them leading Typhlosion, then that means Berserker and Glowking have a good lead matchup into their entire team.
Yeah, for sure. I do think Venomoth is very much a bringable Pokemon here. I know we talked about it briefly as well, but that also if they're not bringing Scarf Typhlosion, I think this team's kind of can be really messed up by Venomoth.
Yeah.
Both in terms of it's sleep powdering, it rage powdering, but also just it quiver dancing.
Yeah, I mean this team actually has a 4x bug resist, so.
It does.
Quiver, Tinted Lens, Bug Buzz isn't unresisted into the whole team, but Tinkaton is a Pokemon that doesn't like being asleep. So,
Yep.
It's already a
got lot
Pokemon
of
that's
options.
forced to check Weavile. It's a Pokemon that's forced to check Slowking, which it doesn't do great. It's a Pokemon that is sort of a soft trap to Mismagius as well. But, it's a Gigaton Hammer.
I do. Weavile, I think, is very important here, especially to stop.
Regice.
Not to stop. Yeah, Regice, but also
Trevenant.
It's Trevenant as well, and its triple axle also really annoys the guy, their rage powder guy.
Vivillon,
so they'd have to terror it, but then using a terror on the rage powder mon, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's a good Pokemon as it turns out. Realistically, it's just going to be about. I think I think a lot of it is going to come down to the lead.
But the problem Lycanroc has is there are 5 faster Pokemon, of which Vigoroth is the only one that maybe doesn't come or doesn't necessarily immediately threaten it. It's not the Accelerock one. If it had Accelerock, I think it's honestly potentially a shoo-in, but it doesn't.
If it had Accelerock, it would be a much better Pokemon.
Yeah, but speaking of this matchup, that maybe makes it a little thing. I don't think you expect any of the bottom 3. Zebstrika's okay. But I think you sort of expect this to be a top 6 against top 6 matchup. Again, with the potential for a Grumpig or a Venomoth to displace probably Hydrapple. Hydrapple's fine here. It just doesn't like Tinkaton and Crawdaunt and Typhlosion all sort of threatening it with damage. It just doesn't. It's difficult to adapt into all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it can adapt to Regice, and there are different sets it can run, right? But Tinkaton, Typhlosion, and Crawdaunt all pressure it in very discrete ways that it's difficult for it to adapt to as well. That said, obviously it's a Hydrapple, so you can still bring it. Would you look at that? It's a top 6 against top 6. Who would believe? That's not cool. It's top 6. Yeah. Sounds like good Pokemon are good.
Yeah, I think. So looking here, we do have.
You expect him to lead Typhlosion, possibly Trevenant Typhlosion with the Ideamine Cassette Trick Room, possibly Tinkaton Typhlosion.
It's either Typhlosion. Yeah, I think it's either Typhlosion plus a guy, or Vivillon plus a setup person. I don't know what that is at this point. It could be a Trick Room.
They could set up Trick Room. They could Swords Dance with Tinkaton, or they could Swords Dance or Dragon Dance with Crawdaunt.
Yeah,
because Regice, I don't believe, gets a special attack setup move not named Charge Beam.
Yeah, so those were the sort of leads that I was thinking. Yeah. Either Typhlosion plus something or Vivillon plus something.
I think that Trevenant's a very likely game 1 lead because it has Frisk.
Yeah. Get some info.
Yeah.
So I had to lead something that would
I think if you're Scarf Typhlosion, you basically always have to lead it game 1. It's either good game 1 or it's never good.
Yeah. That makes sense.
You brought some other threatening thing. So you see this come out, you see the double Frisk. It learns Choice Scarf and Choice Band, and you're like, oh no, they are going to click Banded Earthquake and do something with Mismagius. That could be a Shadow Ball into Trevenant, that could be a Trick into Trevenant, or that could be an Icy Wind to make sure that Typhlosion's always either speed tying or slower than. I think it's slower, right? Because half is never an odd number. No, I forget how the maths works. But there are some where even if you're max speed and you would otherwise speed tie at -1 it rounds down. I think that 167 is one of those numbers, but I don't remember. I'm not committing to that.
I will say, I liked your double choice lead so much I stole it.
Yeah, but mine didn't work, so clearly you shouldn't have.
Well, let's hope mine works.
Yeah.
Basically, here's the thing. I can trick the Trevenant if it's trying for Trick Room. I can Icy Wind the Typhlosion, or I can just Earthquake and Shadow Ball.
Then you can Shadow Ball the
Trevenant that way.
Yeah. But tricking it means that it's basically never going to do anything, even if it doesn't die.
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's going to terror or whatever.
It is
either clicks an attacking move here, or it loses, it stops being a Pokemon because it's a Scarf Pokemon in Trick Room. So, Trick. Now, an Overheat comes out and misses.
Missed. Crazy.
Now, it depends on whether this is Scarf or Specs, right? So, Mismagius has pretty good special defense, not for HP. Pretty good special defense. I'm pretty sure it lives Overheat. Yeah, it lives a Scarf Overheat. With 0 bulk.
Yeah.
So, it depends if it's Specs. Depending on how defensive invested you are, you can live Specs. But if it's Scarf, it's not going to get a KO ever.
Yeah.
Now, you don't know for sure if it's Scarf or Specs, or it could not be
I've
Specs. It
got
could
no
be
idea.
White Herb or something, right? But I think it's
Yeah.
incredibly likely that it is Scarf or
Scarf or
Specs.
Specs.
I think it's just very unlikely that it isn't. So, then you see a
I
Rock Slide
Rock
come
Slide.
out, so you've actually
And I
gone for
rock
the...
slided.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the reason I rock slided, by the way, was because I was very worried about Terrafly on Typhlosion.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
So I just decided to rock slide because that hedged the bets.
Yeah.
And it just isn't a bad click in general.
Yeah, so then we see another turn go off. The Typhlosion is then... so it's either one burst speed ties, or it is Scarf. Now,
Yeah.
the Rock Slide on the switch here is very good, because it means that you get this chip into Regice, combined with the Shadow Ball chip as well. So, that's giving you a decent bit of information about the Regice set. The Regice is pretty reasonably tanky.
Yeah.
I think you probably have seen something similar about the Trevenant, though you don't know whether it's more specially defensive, physical defensive HP invested at this point. And then the Typhlosion does not look to have much, if any, bulk.
Yep, for sure.
I think that this is showing you that it's a FizzDef, right? Like, there's FizzDef investment on the Regice, right?
It's definitely invested, but like that is something that I could tell at this point. It's definitely got some sort of invest. It's more bulky than it is attacky, which is, to be fair,
No,
what I
wait, is that? That's not true, right? That takes $1 million for Shadow Ball. I think that says that it doesn't have that. It's like got FizzDef invested.
Yeah, that's what I've said.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
think
definitely-
I think it shows that it doesn't have much HP,
Oh, okay.
right? Because that Shadow Ball damage is a lot. I think that shows that it's probably
Yeah.
got like max FizzDef and then potentially max special attack, maybe to speed or whatever. But I think that shows it's probably like that's not a lot from Rock Slide, but that is a lot from Shadow
Yeah.
Ball.
Fair enough.
Let me just quickly look, because you know that it's banded Rock Slide as well, right? And they know it's
Yeah,
banded.
yeah,
Everyone knows
that's
it's
true.
banded. The important thing is that you know it's
Yeah.
banded.
And
So
then
that Rock
like,
Slide-
the Covenant announced it.
That Rock Slide doing 45 shows that it's not like even defense. Like it's not even like yeah, it's just 252 defense and then probably like modest max special attack, or not modest, but the minus speed one.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry, probably
you
should have
go.
been like calculating more, but I'm like actually this damage is in general pretty odd. But yeah, so it's got a lot of FizzDef investment, but it's not got the nature.
Cowards.
Otherwise, it maxed at 44 if it did have the nature. So, Crawdot comes out. Now, I think the main thing that I see when I look here is Crawdot, and that Pokemon scares me.
Crawdot's
If
a
you're in
scary
touch
guy.
position, the reason that, well, you never bring out Trevenant, right? Because Trevenant is just sort of a dead Pokemon. You need to try and
Yeah.
win in Trick Room. So you need to be able to threaten both of these Pokemon, and then you also need to be able to threaten the Pokemon on the back. Crawdont is a strong guy.
For sure.
So
But
the question is, do you go for Knock, Liquidation, Crab Hammer, and then what you do with Regice?
Yeah.
So,
Like, you can
interesting
just hit
answer.
two stab
Terra Water on
moves.
the Regice, and Crab Hammer. See you
Crap,
later,
how
Space
mu-
Cowboy.
Absolutely destroys one Space Cowboy.
So they do see that you're Terra Ghost, which is good information to have. One, obviously, it changes the Regice knows that Ice Beam isn't necessarily safe, but two, it means that Tinkaton knows it can't fake you out if you lead this again.
Crab Hammer is an incredible call, to be honest, on the Flygon. I think it's a really good play by Tux.
Yeah, so you actually
Yeah.
don't get any information on what item it has, because if it's no
No.
item, it still KOs.
Yeah. Welcome to Crawdad.
Sorry, no, that's not true. That's
Oh,
not
no,
true.
I
That's
know
why.
that's
Sorry,
adamant, right?
it's a
I know
roll
that's
to
plus
KO.
attack.
It is a roll to KO if
Yeah.
it has no item, depending on how
Yeah,
invested
I know
your
it's,
Flygon
I know
is.
it's got to be plus attack, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know that it's plus attack.
Or it's item boosted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tux has managed to conceal information, right? But obviously you still have two Pokemon on the back. I think at this point they expect that you probably have one of the slower guys, if not both the slower guys, but you could theoretically still have Weavile. So let's see. And then they throw out the rest with Regice. So
Chesto Resto.
Chesto Resto. Now, something that you actually should
Crazy.
notice about the Crawdon is it went before the Regice. Crawdon is
Yeah.
naturally 5 base speed faster than the Regice. Now that could mean that the Regice doesn't have speed, or it can mean that Crawdon is like an anti, like
speed.
is a power item or Iron Ball. Now
Yeah.
that liquidation damage, that Crab Hammer damage, getting that KO, that makes you think at this point, oh, well, we've seen that this Regice doesn't likely have speed. This is probably a Iron Ball or Power Anklet or similar item.
Yeah.
Crawdon.
I noticed that.
So, That's good news. For one thing, it means it doesn't have Sash. But also means your Thunderbolt gets to go off and do a reasonable amount of damage. Okay, that's a good turn.
Yeah.
Now, that means that they're threatened by Weavile. Ice Shard,
yes,
always.
For sure.
So they have to play around it, which means either going for Aqua Jet or Protect. Which means they're losing a turn on Trick Room. Now, they also have to play around Fake Out. There's a million moves they have to play around, which is great. Now, Amnesia has this problem where it's not very good.
Absolute hater material right here.
Yeah. It does have this problem where it's unfortunately not a very good move.
So knock off.
You remove the Trevenant, and now this Regice, which is Amnesia, Ice Beams, Rest, question mark, has to win. And also they have to beat this Weavile somehow. Now, the fact that they're protecting stuff suggests they probably don't have Jet. Sorry, they did frisk the Focus Sash, by the way, and now they've seen the Air Balloons. They know all of your moves.
Oh, okay, Iron Ball gets knocked off.
Yeah, so at this point, Iron Ball gets knocked off. So we confirm that it's Iron Ball. And then you see an Ice Beam Freeze, which means that Toxamox is the luckiest player in the history of the game. But you really don't expect this to be able to rest through Regice, because it takes 3 turns, 2 turns of being asleep and 1 turn of rest. So if you're getting this consistent sort of 32, 33, 34 roll, it means that you're likely to 1v1 the Regice, especially if at any point Slowking wakes up. Unfreezes.
Which it did. Yeah, which it did.
Of course it didn't, because Tox is clearly just a superior player, and you should have trained your Pokemon better. Now, adaptation-wise, Flygon Mismagius is still a pretty reasonable lead. You may choose to bring Berserker instead in the background. You could actually go for Trick Room lead yourself. You could also consider Hydro Apple in the back. But I think that Slowking is probably not the mon that you're gravitating towards, because Slowking proved to be reasonably ineffectual into their guys, especially since we saw that Crawdaunt is Iron Ball. The most important thing to remember, Crawdaunt is Iron Ball, so it beats Slowking. So Slowking is disincentivized from coming. Also, the Regice is Amnesia.
Well, I can basically go through it. So yeah, the Amnesia, Regice, and also, like, again, as you said, Iron Ball, Crawdaunt. But like, they bought Crawdaunt, they bought Trevenant, they bought Regice, and they bought Typhlosion. And like, all of them have a decent, besides like maybe Typhlosion, have a decent matchup into the Slowking, which isn't good. Also, like, it's, I don't know, it just isn't that great here in general, because it's like it's decent into the Tankaton, but it's not amazing, and it's decent into the thing. The Air Balloon was so that I could pair it with the Choice Band Flygon a little bit, because Flygon is a nerd that only gets Earthquake and as its good damaging physical moves, so I needed to bring it.
Sorry, when is Regice Ice Beamed you on turn 6? Misdreavus would have fainted if it hadn't dodged previously. So that's something you want to think about. The 78% I think does also confirm there that it's max special attack.
Yeah.
So the most important thing is how do you actually win? And I think that you are pretty confident in sort of a similar game plan, just with a different Pokemon than Slowking. Slowking proved not to be very effective, but especially if you have a defensive Terra that checks water on Berserker, it feels pretty safe here. And you don't hate
what my Terra was.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll obviously talk about that later. But you also don't hate Hydro Apple, it's okay as well. Though, depending on what its Terra is. So, the cat is being annoying. So, we see the shift up to...
I think the cat disagrees with our analysis in this game.
We see the shift up to the Fake Out, Tinkaton, or whatever. It's not going to Fake Out, right? Because it knows that Flygon is Terra Ghost.
Terra Ghost, yeah.
I think it's trying to threaten you to Terra Ghost turn 1, and it's probably going to throw damage potentially into Flygon, but more likely into Mismagius, because Mismagius is bad physical defense.
I refuse to negotiate.
So, you're in the position where Trick still makes sense, Shadow Ball still makes sense, Earthquake still makes sense, and Rock Slide doesn't really make much sense. So, they don't learn any new information this turn. You have no idea what Tinkaton is doing. But you go for Shadow Ball and Earthquake here, which is, like we mentioned, game 1, potentially a good way to threaten the Trevenant. And we see, this crit only matters depending on the Tinkaton's investment, but it doesn't look very bulky because it just took 53 to a neutral Earthquake from a Flygon. So, do you have a fast follow-up? Oh, you do? Well, that's really bad for our dear friend. And then you wind up Earthquaking your own guy and get a crit that matters. Lucky player like you. Now, we saw the Crawdaunt probably didn't have any priority move. Not priority move, what's it called?
Yeah,
priority move. It probably didn't have Jet because of how it played last game. There were multiple situations where it could Jet, but it probably doesn't have it. And we know that it's Iron Ball, so you can just sort of protect an Earthquake here, right? because neither of the Pokemon are threatening
Again.
Flygon, and then it's like, okay, well, what are they doing here? Probably throwing damage into the Flygon, but that doesn't really matter, because now you know that you can just threaten it next turn. And would you look at that? Knockoff, and it doesn't really matter, because the Regice is not likely ever going to beat the Berserker. You know the Crawdon's always slower, because it's got the Iron Ball, and you know that Regice is never beating it, and you know that they're always losing to Berserker. So all you need to do is remove the Crawdon, and then you always win with Regice from there. So
yeah,
I mean, both these games wound up being reasonably close. Maybe this one isn't like super close, but this one was like reasonably close. But you made sacks very effectively.
I think it was bringing the Berserker instead of Glue King and Hydro Apple.
Slowking very unlikely to beat Regice from there.
But again, I still had Terra, so I probably could have.
I think Hydro Apple probably.
Hydro Apple.
Depending on what your set is, and we'll obviously talk about it in a second. Hydro Apple probably could have won there. So the Hydro Apple was Nasty Plot, Terra Steel. I think it still won there. Like, you just had to kill the Crawdon, and then you were able to Nasty. Actually, no, that's I forgot. This isn't the Recover set. This is the Protect set.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true.
But still, it probably was fine. Not as good. If you had Recover, it was definitely over, because you could just Nasty Plot while they amnesia or whatever, and then you win. And you've got Fickle Beam going all out. We got an OTS pace, but I think we learnt that the Regice was max Fizz Def, max Special Attack Modest. Syncton was Attack Invested. Gigaton have a crit, so no matter. Vivian, no idea, it never hit the field. This guy looked like max HP, max attack. This guy also looked like max HP, max attack. Nothing particularly perplexing. 252 is most likely on this
we didn't actually see it click an attacking move, did we?
Which Pokemon?
Trevenant.
No, it got tricked and then it died.
Yeah.
Died. Protect and died. Yeah, it didn't do anything. So they saw most of your information. Obviously, they never saw anything. Hydro Apple, it never came in. They probably would have played expecting this was Assault Vest, but Ockerberry is obviously fine. You never clicked Protect, so it didn't really matter. But they were probably playing assuming Assault Vest. But I forget. I don't even remember what Ockerberry was for, to be honest with you. Or Teflosion.
I think when I was sort of... Yeah, look, I think basically the lead of mine was really strong.
It also helps into Zev Striker.
Yeah, like I think that lead of mine was really strong, and I just kind of knew if I could just keep leveraging it, it would really sort of...
Yeah, it didn't really matter what they put...
You know, it's kind of like, I think I mentioned a little bit with LS's, where it was like the lead's really good, and then it's beating the lead, but also like beating the back two.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that for my opponent with that lead. It's like, okay, I've got the specs and the scarf, and that's really annoying. But like, if you beat that, then you have to beat the two in the back, you know?
Yeah. I also think it's really funny that it had Terra Blast Ice for Hydro Apple.
That is very fun.
I think, Berserker always won from there. I think Hydro Apple, it really depended on, for one thing, Freeze, obviously.
Berserker is a very good Pokemon.
I mean, theoretically, Ice Beam Freeze could have beaten the Regice. The Regice said Protect? Sorry, I hadn't looked at it. It clicked it.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if it could have beat the Berserker even with the Freeze. I don't think it would have stalled it out with... I don't know, maybe 16 Ice Beams does it? You were -1 from CC. But man, that's something. But it was... Yeah.
Berserker's a great Pokemon. I think that's what we've gotten here. I'm very Berserker pilled.
Tough claws, very strong. But yeah, I think the Weavile wound up being pretty oppressive to them. The Sash was pretty effective. Did you know running Sash on Pokemon that you take advantage of their Sash is good? Yeah, I think that you had a reasonably good matchup. Like they had a real problem dealing with Flygon, and then you managed to pressure them effectively. That trick game 1. I mean, if it was a Shadow Ball, if you went Earthquake Shadow Ball, obviously it would end up better. But you played around a greater degree of options with both playing around Terrors on both of their guys by going for that trick there, and then that managed to kneecap Trevenant, which was otherwise, I think, a reasonably threatening Pokemon into your team.
For sure.
And then getting the information on the Crawdaunt. Sometimes this is something you can consider doing with, I mean, for one thing, obviously the Crawdaunt could have been Room Surf instead of Iron Ball, right? And that would have given it a greater degree of mobility itself. But being Iron Ball or Power Item, you can always try and still run it so that it's not slower than your own guy, but the reason that you're running it is so it's slower than Slowking, right? But that means that the second that they see it moving before Regice, they're going to know that you are Iron Ball, and then that will inform them that outside of Trick Room, Berserker and Slowking are always moving before Crawdon, because Regice is always moving after it in Trick Room. And Hydrapple as well. So it does conceal a lot of information, and then having room service instead would mean that you could be faster than all three of these Pokemon inside and outside of Trick Room. But then you can't switch. Sure. But you also didn't switch, and you're not switching because it's a Crawdon. Like, it doesn't want to take the hits that much. That's my dissertation on Iron Ball. Iron Ball can be a surprise though, and room service can't. Like, if they are relying on Slowking being faster, they know that they can't do that if you've got room service. So there's definitely a bit of both. Either way, Ducks were a cool team into a bad matchup. Thank you guys all for watching. The key is to simply, I realized on turn 1 of this game that the Meowth was rattled, and I still played badly.
I think I think what we've got here is just click the moves, and then...
What we've got here is a failure to communicate.
I think what we've got is just click the moves and win. Good night.